You've been lied to. Not by a villain. Not by someone who sat down and decided to deceive you. But by a story, a clean, logical, deeply satisfying story that was handed to you so early in life that you never thought to question it. Work hard. Get rewarded. Simple. Fair. Obvious. And almost completely disconnected from how money actually moves in the real world. Because right now, somewhere in your building, on your floor, maybe 3 desks away from you, there is someone earning significantly more than you. Not because they bleed for the job the way you do. Not because they are sharper, faster, or more devoted. In fact, if you pulled up both your outputs side by side and showed them to a stranger, that stranger might look at your numbers, look at theirs, and quietly wonder how the math is even possible. And yet there it is. Hello lovelies, welcome to Delaney versus the system. Their number is bigger. Their trajectory is steeper. And the most disturbing part isn't the gap itself, it's that nobody around you seems troubled by it. Leadership isn't confused. HR isn't investigating. The system isn't glitching. The system is working exactly as designed. You just weren't shown the design. The story that costs you money. Let's go back to the beginning. Back to the version of you that first entered the workforce. You arrived with a belief so foundational you didn't even know it was a belief. You thought it was just reality. Work hard, produce results, stay loyal, and eventually, the organization will recognize you, compensate you fairly, and move you forward. So you worked hard. You produced. You stayed late when it mattered and sometimes when it didn't. You took on extra projects, cleaned up other people's messes, said yes when your instinct said no, because that's what dedication looks like. That's what they said would matter. Here's what nobody told you. There is a threshold. A point at which additional effort stops converting into additional reward. And most high-performing employees blow past that threshold sometime in their first 12 months, then spend the next decade pouring energy into a return that stopped coming long ago. The people earning more? They found that threshold. They stopped at it. And they took all the energy they would have spent grinding past it and redirected it somewhere the organization actually prices. You were running the wrong race. And the worst part is, you were winning it. Your salary is not what you think it is. Say this slowly in your head. Your salary is not a reward for your effort. It is a pricing decision based on 2 variables, and only 2 variables, that your employer is calculating whether they tell you or not. Variable 1, how visible your value is to the people who control the budget. Variable 2, how much it would cost them to replace you if you walked out the door tomorrow. That's it. That's the whole equation. Every number on every pay stub in your organization flows from some version of those 2 calculations. Not loyalty. Not tenure. Not how many weekends you sacrificed or how many times you stayed to fix someone else's error. Visibility of value. Replacement cost. The people earning more have been quietly moving both numbers in their favor for years. While you were focused on your performance, they were focused on their positioning. And positioning, it turns out, pays better. The invisible work that actually gets rewarded. Picture 2 people. Same company. Same role. Genuinely similar talent. The first one finishes a project that saves the company a significant amount of time and money. Files it. Moves on. Feels quietly good about the work. Assumes the right people noticed. The second one finishes the same project and sends 3 sentences to their manager afterward. What was done? What problem it solved? What the outcome was in measurable terms. 6 months later, a leadership role opens. A small group of decision-makers sits in a room that neither of these employees will ever see. Names get floated. Reputations get tested against the pressure of the moment. Person 1 exists in that room only as a vague sense of reliability. Person 2 exists as a series of specific wins that are already attached to their name in someone else's memory. Person 2 gets the role. And if you asked Person 1 what happened, they'd probably say they were unlucky. That it was politics. That the system is broken. The system isn't broken. It just doesn't reward work that nobody in power can see. And visibility is not a personality trait you either have or don't. It is a skill. A learnable, practicable, deployable skill that the people earning more have simply been using longer than you have. Making yourself expensive. Now let's talk about the second variable. Replacement cost. There is a quiet calculation happening about you right now, not dramatically, not in a boardroom with your name on a whiteboard, but in the background hum of how organizations think about their people. And the calculation is this: if this person left tomorrow, what would it actually cost us? If the honest answer is, not that much, your leverage is essentially 0. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much you care. The organization will give you the minimum it believes it needs to give you to keep you around, and not $1 more. The people earning more have made themselves expensive to lose. Not by making themselves difficult. Not by hoarding information or manufacturing chaos. But by developing skills that are genuinely scarce, by owning relationships that would walk out the door with them, by solving problems that live in their head in ways that can't easily be transferred to a cheaper replacement. They raised their replacement cost while everyone else was chasing their performance review score. Those are not the same number. Confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes a career can make. The room you're not in here is something that will quietly change how you see every interaction at your job. Every organization has two economies running simultaneously. The formal one, visible, documented, theoretically fair, and the informal one, which is where actual decisions happen. The informal economy runs on trust, on reputation, on who comes to mind when a name needs to be said in a room you're not invited to. High-value projects don't go through open competitions. Nobody posts an internal listing and waits for applications. Someone in power thinks of a name. That name belongs to a person they trust, feel good about, and have positive associations with. The decision happens before the opportunity is announced. Sometimes before the opportunity even officially exists. The people earning more have mastered the informal economy. They build genuine relationships with decision makers, not with the desperate energy of someone who needs something, but with the quiet consistency of someone who simply keeps showing up as trustworthy, useful, and real. By the time the opportunity surfaces, they're not competing for it. They're being retrieved. Most people spend their entire career not realizing there was a selection process running the whole time. They apply for things that were already decided. They compete in races where the finish line was moved before the gun went off. Understanding this doesn't make you cynical. It makes you effective. The conversation most people never have. Let's get specific about money for a moment, because this is where the gap becomes almost embarrassing. Studies consistently show that a staggering portion of professionals have never once negotiated their salary. Not at hiring. Not at review time. Not ever. They took the first number offered, waited politely for the company to decide what they deserved each year, and called it a career. Meanwhile, the people earning more negotiate. Not with aggression. Not with ultimatums or theater. But with data, with calm, and with a clear understanding of something most employees never grasp. Salary bands have ceilings nobody volunteers to tell you about, and floors that go much lower than they'd prefer to pay. The offer you received was not the offer they had to give you. It was the offer they hoped you'd accept. There is a window where your leverage is real. It opens when you're being hired somewhere new. It opens when you have a competing offer. It opens when your employer senses, even faintly, that you might leave. During those moments, the conversation is genuinely possible. The number genuinely moves. The people earning more walk through that window every time it opens. Everyone else waits for an invitation. The invitation doesn't come. The window closes. And another year passes at the number someone else chose for you. What they know that you weren't told here is the truth underneath everything we've covered. High earners are not operating with more talent, more luck, or more hours in their day. They are operating with a more accurate map. They learned, somehow, from somewhere, what the workplace actually rewards versus what it claims to reward. And they aligned their behavior with the reality, not the story. The reality is this. Effort stops converting into income past a certain point. Visibility of your results matters more than the volume of them. Relationships built before you need them are the only ones that work when you do. Compensation is negotiated, not granted. The informal power structure determines more outcomes than any org chart ever will. None of this is in the employee handbook. None of it comes up in onboarding. And it will never be said out loud by anyone who benefits from you not knowing it. The gap between your income and theirs is not a gap in work ethic. It is a gap in understanding. And here is what that should feel like, if you really let it land. Liberating. Because you cannot close a gap you don't understand. But a gap in understanding? That can change the moment you decide it does. The person earning more at your company is not your competition. They are your proof of concept. Proof that the ceiling you've been pressing against isn't made of stone. It's made of information. And now you have some. Because in the workplace, the ones who earn more are rarely the ones who did more. They are the ones who finally understood what more actually meant. Thank you guys for watching.